Welcome to Chapter 1, which is an introduction to social media marketing. Chapter 1 guides us through a discussion of what social media is, how it came to be, and why it is such an important tool for marketers today. We're going to hit the highlights in this lecture, but I do encourage you to read through your textbook to pick up on all of the intricacies of social media marketing. Small businesses and multinational companies alike are starting to shift their budgets towards social media marketing. When you look at the marketing budget, we are seeing that shift from traditional media such as television, newspapers, magazines, and radios. And it's making a shift towards digital and social media specifically. And there was a survey completed by McKinsey & Company in December of 2015, and it showed that digital advertising is the fastest growing advertising segment. There's about an average of 16% increase in spending each year over the last 5 years. We're going to focus a little bit more on social media marketing and social network spending. And there's a study that showed that in 2009, companies were only spending about 5.6% of their marketing budget on social media marketing. In 2016, that number is expected to make up around 17% of the average company's marketing budget. So we can see that there's been a huge increase in the last 7 years of how companies are spending their marketing budget each year, and we are seeing a lean towards social media specifically. This is just even a percentage of the digital marketing budget, so it's a pretty big number. In 2015, so last year, companies spent about $24 billion on social network ad spending alone. That's just social network ad spending, which will clarify some of the differences this semester, but I promise you that's a huge number for a very small piece of social media marketing. And this number was up 33% over 2014. So the numbers are huge. They're continuing to grow. Social media marketing is having a major impact on how companies are planning their marketing strategy. So why am I reading you all of these statistics? Why am I enforcing all of these big numbers? It's really just to show you how important it is for us to study social media marketing. We're going to have a discussion at the end of the semester around careers in social media. The job market for digital and social marketers just continues to grow at a rapid rate each year. Companies can't fill these jobs fast enough. You do any job search for social media strategist or social media marketer, digital strategist, you can find hundreds of jobs out there. Companies are really starting to understand how important this is for them to get a grasp around. And they're looking for employees who are trained in social media marketing. There's a big difference in setting up social accounts and building a social media strategy. And this semester, you're going to be trained in how to build that social media strategy for a corporation. And there's a huge difference in how we use social media personally and how a company can use it to network, connect, and engage with their customers. And so that's what this semester is going to be all about. How do companies use social media to connect, network, and engage with their customer base? So let's start with a definition of social media marketing. Your textbook has a long definition here, a term that describes the use of social networks, online communities, blogs, wikis, or any online collaborative media. So any online collaborative media can be a piece of social media marketing. And all of those are used for marketing, sales, public relations, and customer service. So to put it more succinctly, social media marketing is the use of social media portals to positively influence customers to take an action. And so that action could be any number of things. It could be we want the customer to go visit our website. We want them to purchase a product either on our website or in our store. It might be that we want them to subscribe to our email address. It might be as simple as we want them to like our page or share our message with their friends on social networks. We know that social media is one of the best ways to build relationships with our customers and to drive sales. Unfortunately, there is still a lot of misconceptions of social media in the corporate marketplace. Oftentimes, there's a lot of pushback to make social media a large part of the corporate budget. And you'll find that especially in settings where maybe the company is older, well established, they've been using traditional marketing methods for 100 years, and so they're not quite sure if they want to make the switch to social. And so a lot of that hesitation comes from some of these large misconceptions. Now, this is a list of the misconceptions, and these are right out of your textbook. So we're going to talk about a few of them and hit some highlights, but I do encourage you to go back to this section in Chapter 1 and take a look at the description for some of these fads, some of these misconceptions of social media marketing. One of the misconceptions is that social media is just a fad. And you'll get this, you maybe have even heard it from your parents or your grandparents or an employer or a boss. Social media is just a fad. It's not a long-term investment. Let's not waste our money in a short-term situation. And that's not the case. Based on the statistics presented earlier in this lecture, I think you can see that it's not just a fad. Social media is here to stay. Although social networks do continue to change and evolve, the concept of social media isn't going anywhere. You have social networks who might have been around 10 years ago that aren't here today, but that doesn't mean that the concept of social media isn't here today. So social media is here to stay, and that basic concept of social media is really networking and connecting. People like to talk to other people. They like to share their experiences and their stories, and social media gives them an outlet to do that, and that is not going to change. A statistic that social media is just for the young. Many people think that millennials are the only people on Facebook, and that is so not the case. The reality is that millennials are the most active on social media networking sites, but other generations also use social media. This is kind of a cool chart on the right just showing the total social network users in 2015, and you can see some of the growth. And what's really interesting is over 35% of people ages 65 and older in the United States are using social media. Over 35% of people 65 years and older are on social media. This is not just an outlet for the millennials. All age groups are using social media. I'm sure some of you have grandparents on social media. I do. So everyone is using social media. Now, the largest group does fall in the millennial age group, but that doesn't mean that all the other age groups aren't growing. So it's not just for the young. You can reach a variety of audiences through social media. Another misconception is that there's no ROI, return on investment. There's no return on investment in social media marketing. And if you think a company can't make money from a social media marketing campaign, you're wrong. And this is the right class for you because we're going to talk about how companies can achieve a return on investment from social media marketing. Your book lists a few success stories from social campaigns, and we're going to talk about and review many other case studies, both positive and negative, throughout this semester of return on investment in social media marketing. Sometimes companies don't use social media because they think it isn't right for them. The fact is that social media is right for every company. The key is finding the right social media platforms to connect with your customers on. Facebook isn't the right choice for everybody. A lot of people go into social media and they immediately say, we need a Facebook page. Well, that's not the case. There's different social media networks that are better for certain types of companies. And so that's something we'll do this semester is really analyze each of the social platforms and talk about how companies can choose the right one for them. Social media marketing is new. That is a big misconception. The first online community actually started in 1979. It's been around for a while. Your book talks about that kind of start of an online community, which is social media marketing. The most basic principle of social media is that conversation is conversation. And so conversations have been happening on the internet since 1979. What is new is the technology we've used to have that conversation. And today we have lots of platforms to use to have conversations in a very visible place online. If you think about Napster, is a social media platform started in 1999. Wikipedia started in 2001, well before Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat. So it's been around for quite a while. Another misconception is that social media marketing is time-consuming. One of the biggest concerns that companies have is that social media marketing takes way too much time to manage. But there are many ways to cut down the time it takes to implement and execute a social media campaign. And we'll talk about some of those resources that companies can use. It is a full-time job, but it's not as time-consuming as a lot of people think it is. One of the biggest and the biggest misconceptions of social media marketing is that it's free. And in my personal experience working with both corporate executives and marketing students here at GCSU, this is the most common social media misconception. People assume that because they can use social media networks for free, that companies can use social media networks for free and achieve the results they want. And that's the big piece. If you want to achieve the results that you want, social media is most likely not going to be free for you. Most social networks are free to sign up, yes, but what about the cost and the time and effort by the employees? What about the fee for the consultants who are usually involved with building and executing a strategy? What about the cost of creating content? Both time and money must be used effectively in order to generate that ROI for a company. So it is not free, but we'll talk about that this semester. So something for you to think about or maybe discuss in the Chapter 1 discussion boards. Are any of these misconceptions surprising to you? Did you believe any of these myths, or did you fall into the category of maybe thinking that some of these myths were true before reading this chapter? You can use the discussion boards to talk about that for this module. All right, so the myths walked us through what social media is not. So let's talk for a second about what social media is. And we're going to do that by comparing social media to traditional media. Traditional marketing makes it very easy to control the content seen by the audience. Think about TV commercials and newspaper ads. The company puts a message together, they pick the images, they pick the text, and they publish it, and that's what the audience sees. In social media marketing, there's a big emphasis on audience contribution to the message. So instead of keeping out negative comments or comments about competing brands and products, companies welcome them on their social media networks. And that's not the case when you think about traditional marketing. In social media, the company has to be willing to give up control and allow participants on social media to guide their own conversations, to write what they want to write about, to talk about what they want to talk about, to have conversations with each other through the company's platform. And that's really allowing the audience to contribute to the message and the conversation about the product, brand, or service. When you allow participants on social media to have an open conversation, companies are able to build a foundation of trust with their customers. So allowing that open conversation, allowing them to post whatever they want to some extent, and we'll talk about that this semester, but allowing the customers to post what they want really builds a foundation of trust and strengthens relationships. So if you've had an advertising class here at GCSU or maybe somewhere else, you know that customers inherently don't trust what they see on traditional media forms. We know that consumer trust is low for TV, especially TV, and to some extent magazine, newspaper, and radio. But social media really involves a two-way communication with an audience who has an interest in your company, brand, or product. And so companies have an opportunity here on social media to be very transparent and keep their social campaigns ongoing and build trust and relationship with their customers. Customers trust other customers. And so if a company can use their platform to build that trust, it builds a successful relationship. So that's kind of Chapter 1 in a nutshell. Like I said, make sure you do go back and check your book for extra details. There are a couple of additional videos that you need to watch that go along with Chapter 1. The first video is in Hootsuite University, Becoming a Digital Professional. It's about 2 minutes long. And then you'll also watch Social Media in Plain English, which is almost 4 minutes long. And there's a link to the YouTube video in the module on Georgia View.